I reacted to a video that was can Floyd Mayweather box women if he identifies as female? Now, the reason why I brought Matt into this stream is because he's the person that did this video. This was his very first video that he posted on this channel on YouTube. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. And it
Nope,
absolutely
you're
took
right.
off. Yeah, okay, I got that right. So it absolutely took off over, what does that say? 620,000 views on this video. Now, an amazing title, an amazing concept, and the responses are definitely shocking. Now, we're not going to go through and react to the whole thing because I already did that. But we are going to take a few key takeaways and discuss them with the creator. Let's go ahead and just hop into reacting to some of the key parts that I wanted to take away from the video. And then we got to jump into a lot of other things, just about everything that happened after and whatnot, kind of where you are politically, etc., all that great stuff.
Let's do it.
I don't think it's like fair at that point. I think my perspective is a little different because I'm in sport. I play hockey, so like skating and stuff, like no way. They're automatically faster, stronger.
You're saying if he is who he is right now, and then tomorrow he decides.
And just decided I'm a woman, I'm gonna box.
No.
You're
No.
Probably not.
I mean, I see both sides of the argument.
He would kill someone.
This is okay. That's how I feel about.
I think like the physical strength obviously is very unfair, but I'm all about like trans rights and everything like that, and equality with like gender and everything. So that's why I kind of get sticky.
Okay, I love the right there, right off the bat. I love the I can see both sides of the argument. We're talking about the video. The video topic is, can Floyd Mayweather box women if he identifies as female? And she's saying, well, in response to this, she's saying, well, I can see both sides. Matt, how many people did you run across? Maybe they had a friend group like this. And how many people were hesitant and more, did you feel like people were giving you answers that they were like trying to shield themselves from the mob? Just like almost a safety net in a way? Because that's what that is right there. Nobody sees both sides of that argument.
So I guess so to respond to that, I think, to be honest, I don't know exactly for sure, because I can't step into someone's brain and read all of their mind, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell within some group interviews that I did whether if there was one person or a second person, if they just like they had more on their mind that they wanted to say, but one of their other friends was sort of like talking over them a little bit and kind of projecting their opinion a little bit more loudly.
Yeah.
In a group, it's really hard to know that for sure. So I can talk more about my personal experience with how I've dealt with like certain levels of blowback in my life, or what are the consequences or repercussions in speaking out more on, say, this topic, what's happened for me, so people can understand how much of this like mob mentality, how much of that is real versus how much of it seems like it's a pressure that people are afraid of. What might that look like in your life if you were to open up about this topic? So I think my personal experience would probably be better there, but I have no idea as far as like their friendships or who they have in their life. And like how much pressure they might face from someone. It might be different for different people, but there were a lot of times where it felt like I feel like you want to say more.
Well, the reason I asked that is because
kind of catering to all of the different peer interests and things like that.
Right. And the reason I asked that is, whenever I'm going out and doing videos, oftentimes you'll perhaps you need to do 100 of them to kind of get more of that sense of, yes, you're definitely holding something back here. And you're saying this just so if you do get in trouble, you can say, well, I said this, right? No, you weren't there arguing that people shouldn't have rights. You weren't there arguing any of that stuff. However, people throw that in just to make sure that they throw that in kind of as that little safety net. What the question is pretty straightforward, right?
Yes.
And the one girl's saying, well, no, he would kill somebody. It seems like a pretty reasonable take. He probably would. By the way, I had in the comments when I reacted the first time to this video, somebody was bringing up, he should have done Mike Tyson. And I was like,
as if it matters.
Did you? I know.
Yeah, the difference between those two matters. But yeah,
in an absurd question, just bringing it to that next level. Did you consider doing any other fighters, or was it Floyd Mayweather?
No, I didn't. But if it's okay, I'll talk a little bit about the behind the scenes from where this came from.
Please.
And why Minnesota? Why me? Why do I get involved with this to begin with? So, And I covered this in kind of a new video that I had as well. But I have some family who actually like are in politics in Minnesota. So I have an uncle who is a senator there. And so I was through those conversations with him, I had a little bit of a behind the scenes look at some of the things that was going on. And there was one group that was called Gender Justice, and they're the group. Their special projects director is Erin McQuaid in Minnesota. She's a senator in Minnesota for the Democratic Party. And they were the ones who helped J.C. Cooper win the lawsuit against USA Powerlifting, which became this famous thing. There's lots of YouTubers that have done commentary videos on that, that topic as well. And they're very clear. The Gender Justice group was very clear that the ruling of that case opens the door for every single sports group in Minnesota to have to allow a biological male identifying as women to compete in women's sports. And that's it would be discrimination not to let someone compete. So USA Powerlifting had 14 days to change their policy. And now, right now, the case is also in limbo as far as what discriminatory damages they're going to have to pay out. So that's the legal case. But the verdict is in, and they USA Powerlifting appealed it, at least the discriminatory damages part. So we'll see where it goes next. But I started making this content out of the gut instinct that it's not going to be overturned, and they're going to have to pay out cash to J.C. Cooper in this case. So that was what was going on. And I heard about this and was learning about this case. I was like, if this is opening the doors, how far could this go?
How far are
let's
people
just imagine
willing
a little
to
bit.
take it?
Let's just imagine how far can it go? and so I was like, what is the most extreme question that I think I can think of? Like that, like most people would just say like, nah, I just can't get behind that. And I was like, oh, combat sports is obviously like that.
Pretty serious.
There's a level of serious danger and a threat to it that's can be different. From even like if you're with lifting weights, for example, there's a different component to that. So like, let's do that, and let's just do a fighter who's like 50-0 and has never been like knocked down before. I believe I'm correct about that. Let's do something crazy like that and just see how people would take it.
Well, it's so interesting.
That's where it came out of.
It's so interesting. Like, you wanted to take it, like, how far can I take this, and how far are people willing to go at this time, right? Because things, generally speaking, tend to escalate. What's crazy now is less crazy in 5 years if they continue down this path. You chose something just absurd, and people still took the bait. People still said, yes, absolutely. Some people did. Now, we haven't really talked about too much of that. I do want to go to this next clip because I want your reaction to this one as well, okay?
I believe so, yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Would that be like a fair fight?
I believe so, yes. I don't think that biology necessarily equates to someone's skill range.
Does that apply? I just want to show that bit. Does that apply to hockey? You mentioned you're an athlete. That girl that you spoke with looked like she played hockey. Is that just common sense? What's going on?
So here's the thing about biology, is it necessarily shows something about your skill range. It is true that someone could be a man and just terrible at sports.
For sure, 100%.
And someone can be a woman and be very athletic. Like me playing a WNBA player, I'd probably get my butt kicked and handed to be honest, with my training level. But what we're talking about is athletes at the highest level of training. Yeah. And so here's a good point as well, and this is one I brought up in my new video. The Atlantic published data as I think this was in the past year or whatever. The Atlantic, which is more left-leaning, supports candidates from the Democratic Party.
For sure.
They published data that showed a 10% gap in elite athletes in the world record ratio between men and women. And this was like track and swim time events. And there's a 10% difference across the board. Yeah. And so if you they published that data, right? And they're bent, even when you read their article, you can almost see this little like, how do we frame this? And so the way that they talked about in the article is like, well, the gap has been closing over the past century or something like this. So our computer algorithm shows that, it's going to get closer and closer and closer and closer and closer until they finally match.
For sure.
Right. And so they're going off of a computer algorithm to try to like show people that the numbers are closer than what they are. But when you're an athlete at that level, milliseconds matter,
For sure.
right?
Sure. Absolutely.
And so the fact that there's a 10% difference across the board shows that the biological difference is a real thing. And even organizations that tend to lean more left aren't hiding that. They're very out in the open about it. And so that's where my belief is still that actually most people from the Liberal Party as well, or who would vote blue, actually don't agree with this, or they agree that there are real biological differences,
Right.
and they would not agree with Floyd Mayweather, boxing against women. But I think there's some other issues that we can talk about. Maybe people feel afraid to speak up at some time, or they don't want to challenge their own party at times. But I still think most people believe that, and there's lots of like left-leaning organizations that are publishing data that show very much these real biological facts.
Of course. And
Yep.
it's funny that you mentioned that. Actually, today, I believe Rasmussen just released a poll showing the overwhelming majority of Americans don't even support this. And I think more people would answer in private, right? I think more people would answer in private that they don't support this than publicly, just because perhaps they're afraid of the pressure that they're it kind of blowing up in their face among their peers, specifically at a college campus or around that. For younger people, they don't want to deal with it. They'll just say, okay, fine, I'll get less flack if I say this, go with what these people are saying, and fine, I can fly under the radar and not get any trouble from people in my life.
Yeah, and I definitely saw that too, because like if you go back to the start of this video as well, that was the first thing I wanted to open with, because I ran into 3 or 4 times when I was doing these interviews, people just like, I don't want to answer.
I'm not touching that one. I'm not touching that one.
Felt like, to me, and from where I'm coming from, this felt like a softball type of a question. It felt like one that I think most people would use common sense and be like, I don't want someone to die in the ring.
What's slower than a softball? I mean, this is like the weakest ball of anybody can hit this. This should be a home run for anybody. I want to make sure I shout out your YouTube channel, you guys. Link is in the description on this live stream. This is Matt's channel, and the reason I'm shouting him out, he's brand new, but the reason I'm shouting him out is because this video was so amazing. And we're going to talk about it in depth, as well as talk about some of the kind of responses that he got for this video when it came to how people reacted, him trying to get interviews with the senator after, and all that stuff. So go check out his channel. Go subscribe right now. Go support him. We need to be encouraging more people and uplifting more people that are making content like this, where it's really making people think. It's in direct opposition to this insane woke mob that does not want you to have open dialogue on college campuses or wherever, right? So go subscribe to him right now. I want to make sure we get Matt a handful of subscribers.